Hello, and welcome to Adrian's Life Advice Channel. I'm Adrian Settles, the author of B Poetry Book, a certified educational specialist and academic consultant. Today, I am extremely excited to have Idris Settles on our show. Yay!
Hello, assalamu alaikum. Thank you for having me here.
You're welcome. Let me tell you all about my son, Idris Settles. Yay. Now, have you ever wondered what it takes to excel in both literary and athletic world? In the athletic world, meet Idris Settles, a young prodigy who's not just making waves, but creating tsunamis in both fields. From his poetic prowess showcased in his new book, Practice Makes Poetry, to his stellar performances on the football, basketball, baseball, and soccer fields. Idris is a living testament to what dedication and talent can achieve. He's an inspirational poet, an Arabic spelling bee champion, and an all-around sports star, all while being skipped and taking advanced classes. Today, we delve deep into the inspiring journey of Idris Settles, exploring his motivations, his triumphs, and a few fun facts you won't want to miss. Ready to be inspired? Ready to be inspired? Not expired. Let's dive in. Yay! All righty. So Idris's poetry book, Practice Makes Poetry, is now available in stores online at Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. At just 19, Idris will soon be transferring to Temple University after completing his associate's degree. Now, here are some fun facts about Idris. Now, when Idris was 3 years old, he started reading. He started reading Arabic in preschool. He was the first to lead Salat at his preschool graduation at Al-Rahma School in Maryland. He ranked high in the Quran recitation competitions. He was skipped in the first grade. He won the Arabic spelling bee despite being the only one that didn't speak Arabic fluently. Wow, Idris, tell us more about that.
So that spelling bee was a big moment in my life for me because, like you mentioned, everybody else in the class was fluent in Arabic. So to be able to win it and be the only one that didn't speak Arabic was pretty cool. And, you know, I'm grateful to have come up in an Islamic school so that I knew how to read Arabic.
Yes, alhamdulillah, that's beautiful. Now, in middle school, he ranked high in the debate competition. Now, Idris always plays sports. He plays soccer, baseball, football, and basketball. Now, when he was in soccer, his coach did tell us, whatever you do, never take Idris out of soccer. He was very adamant about that. However, Idris wanted to play other sports, so we did take him out of soccer. But while playing, he was playing baseball at Northwood in Baltimore. You know, Northwood's on the east side. He made it to the All-Star team, which was a great achievement. You know, when you play the baseball and you make it to the All-Star team. When he was on the Towson Spartans 9U team, he made a touchdown the first time he touched the football in the first quarter. And it was only greatness from there. He played positions as the RB, QB, and a DE. I mean, when he first made his touchdown, we were still trying to get the camera equipment together. So we didn't actually capture that on video, but his other touchdowns, we have them on video. Yes. Now, after a while, Idris made it to the Hamilton Tiger program, which was a very competitive elite program in Maryland. We eventually took him out because they kept trying to push him up or get him to play up. And remember, Idris was already skipped, and playing up in football is really tricky because those kids start being built like grown men. So that was a really interesting experience. And like I said, it's very competitive. So we were very happy that he actually made the team. And also, he played well on the Lock Raven rec team. That was also like I think Northeast Baltimore. He played in the Lock Raven. He played on the Lock Raven rec team basketball, and he played on the Lehigh Valley Canes AAU team for many years. Now, the Lehigh Valley Canes AAU team was a very good competitive team. And who were your coaches again?
Brian and Coach Taylor, and I also had Coach Eli as well.
Yeah, they were very passionate, right?
Yeah,
They were very passionate. A lot of kids in the Lehigh Valley went through that program. Now, recently, Idris played college basketball and has now been actively participating in the men's basketball in the local league. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so my freshman year at Lehigh Carbon Community College, I played basketball for the team for the school. This past year, I didn't play for my second year, but like you mentioned, I'm in the men's basketball league in my area at the mosque. So that has been good for me because it allows me to, stay in shape and keep doing something that I love. But it also doesn't, it's not like I have practice, 5 days a week, 6 days a week. So it's very nice.
And now, more recently, he played men football also in the local league and earned the finals most valuable player trophy, which was so nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. I really love that trophy.
Thank you.
Now, Islamically, let's talk about Islam. Islamically, Idris has given a cook bar and several talks at the local masjid. And last Ramadan, he completed reading the entire Quran in Arabic in 27 days. Alhamdulillah, that's a great achievement. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so I would say this is actually my biggest achievement, I think, because of how challenging the task was for me. I've been trying to this was my goal for I would say the past 3 Ramadans, to try to finish reading the whole Quran in 1 month. And the other months I would get started and after that first week, it only gets harder from there. So, I was never able to even get close to it. But, alhamdulillah, this year I was able to finish it right a little bit before, the last day of Ramadan. So it was very nice. And like I said, definitely one of my biggest achievements.
Yeah, congratulations. We were so happy for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, can you talk a little bit about our family?
Yep. Okay. So I had two brothers. Damien, he's my older brother, and Jabril's my younger. So I'm the middle child.
And inshallah, I'll be interviewing them one day too.
Inshallah. So Damien, he's currently working on his PhD in neuroscience with a concentration in cellular and molecular physiology. And Jabril, he is currently a sophomore in high school, and he's gifted in coding and cooking, and he's very good at soccer. He plays soccer as well.
He really loves soccer.
And my dad as well, Billy. When I played football for Towson, he was our offensive coordinator. So, he coached me when I played football. And, he's coached me in a lot of other things as well, sports, on the field, off the field, sports and life as well. So, I kind of see him he's like a, there's a life coach, he coaches us in everything. He's a very good role model. So
yeah, and also he's an overall great supporter of our family. So yeah, definitely. Now, when it comes to your book, can you tell us a little bit more about your book?
Yep. So like you mentioned earlier, it's called Practice Makes Poetry. And this book, I had started to really write a lot of poems after I had taken part a poetry competition. I was part of a poetry competition at my local mosque. And, I did end up winning the competition, alhamdulillah. And at this point, I started writing more and more and more poems. And then I know you had told me that you were going to give me a year to to kind of get a collection of poems so that we can hopefully, get a book out, around this time. So
Mm-hmm.
it's been a little bit over a year, but that's how things started.
That's great. Now, what was your inspiration behind writing the poetry book? Was that what you were saying?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, that's my inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to bring value to other people as well. So to spread positive messages and, to advise people and to, even just teach, even just, teaching people lessons based on my experiences alone, the things that I do, I value that. So that all plays a part in my inspiration.
Oh, that's really good. All right, now, what is your poetic style?
So my poems, when I first started, they all used to look very similar. A lot of them, they would have stanzas, and each stanza would just be 4 lines, and it would just be the same, like rhythmic style. But as I've grown older and as I've studied more poetry, I would say my style has changed so much that I don't think I have one anymore. Other than I do try to make all my poems rhyme. I think that's probably the only thing that really is consistent in my poetry is that I try to make them all rhyme. But I don't really have a certain style just because I take from so many different pieces and inspirations.
That's really good. And how about the themes? What are the themes in your poetry book?
So in terms of the themes, I think Islam is a huge one in my poetry books, in my poetry book.
And what percentage is Islamic? Your point.
Maybe half,
Okay.
maybe 50%.
Mm-hmm.
I would say close to that. I mean, I have to look back and see, obviously, but I mean, it's definitely it's a lot. A lot of my poems, are have to do with Islam.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one. And then self-development is a big one for me as well. And I would say another thing is just perspective. Just being able to see things from a different lens. I would say those are the biggest themes in my poetry.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's really good. And do you have any favorite poets?
I would say Langston Hughes is my favorite poet.
Langston Hughes. And why you say Langston Hughes?
I like Langston Hughes just because the meaning behind his work. I mean, his poetry sounds good, and when I was younger, I cared mostly about the way poems sound. But as I got older, I realized that the best poems are the ones that have really deep meaning. So
Yes,
that's why I gravitate towards him and his work.
he's a very, very good poet. Now, I just want to switch the topic around a little bit. Now, there was one incident that occurred when Idris was younger. Let's say he was in first grade. And this is the time, like I said before, he was skipped. But before he was skipped, we wanted to try it out in second grade for like 2 weeks to see how he fit in before we actually skipped him. And when he was in the other class, the second grade class, there was a field trip going on within the 2 weeks. And so I, told the teacher, please let Idris stay with you. He's the youngest. He's very shy. He doesn't really speak too much. So please keep him with you. But during that time, during the field trip, Idris was left behind at the aquarium. The aquarium in Baltimore, Maryland, is in the harbor. And they didn't recognize he was gone until they got to the school, and the school was in like Woodlawn. So that was like 30 minutes away. And so I was inspired or motivated to write a poem during that time because I was just always wondering what happened. What if this happened? What if that happened? And during that time, I really got lost in my feelings because I was just like, what if this happened when they weren't around? What if that happened if they weren't around? What if he would have gotten ran over because he was at the end of harbor and the aquarium was very close to the water? But Idris wasn't really hyped, so he didn't run and jump in the water. He was really inquisitive and he was really like, a thinker. So he moved slowly at that age. He was very advanced. He moved slowly. He wasn't really hyped. So I'm so happy for that because if he was, it's possible he could have ran and jumped in water. He went looking around in the parking lot. He was very smart at that age. So the name of my poem that was inspired by that experience is called What If? Okay. What if I, he, she, them, or it? What if this happened, or what if that happened? This would have happened, or this could have happened. The what if game could be fun depending on what cards you have been dealt. If you were dealt bad cards in the past, then a what if game could go on forever. What if this? What if that? The mystery of wondering how things could have been better or different needs to stop. You are torturing yourself. Stop this game. Do something positive to increase your morale. Having faith, praying, seeking counseling, or even joining a support group can help you to heal. Your cards have been damaged, whether you believe it or not. What if is a never-ending game that can destroy you even if you suffer from guilt, regret, and blame. Forgiveness and sorry are the two cards in the game that you can pick voluntarily to make you a survivor. Sometimes closure will be far away. It comes with time and healing. So in the meanwhile, you are reliving an infinite number of different moves repeatedly, and it makes you an addict. Don't get too comfortable doing that. It's counterproductive. You must take control of the game and become active again. Use your cards as a tool to help others get through this game too. Turn that enormous hurt, pain, guilt, tears, and uncertain emotion to an extremely passionate experience and wise conversation to educate others. You have the power to inspire someone else to survive. You can decide what cards you want to play next. You can finally make the last move to live again. What if that? And so I wrote,
Yeah, I like that one.
Thank you. So I wrote that poem, like I said, because I had gotten to a stage of what if, and I understand a small piece of that being that, I actually have Idris and he wasn't hurt. But I wrote this poem to let parents know that may have lost their child, may have never gotten their child back, maybe still looking for their child, that you have to have faith and you have to go to a greater power. You have to go to God and get help or go to counseling because you can't do this by yourself. You're only human. And losing your child and wondering every day you're going to go through the torture of what if this and things like that. So I wrote that for myself and I wrote that for someone else to give them a sense of comfort. And inshallah, God willing, you'll get a sense of closure. Okay. Now, let's get back to Idris. Now, Idris, would you read us one of your poems and then afterwards tell us what is the inspiration behind it?
Yeah, okay. So this poem that I picked is called Purpose. This is actually my closing poem in my poetry book. So, purpose. How important is one's purpose? Can we ever achieve greatness without digging deeper than the surface? Without having a reason, what stops us from being worthless? If we don't have an aim, how can we ever know what our worth is? In a life full of obstacles, like a tiger in the circus, without standing firm, how can we ever not feel nervous? In a world full of pain and a life full of burden, a person without a purpose is doing themselves a disservice. In a never-ending cycle of temptations and urges, a person with a reason is a person who emerges. When the times get hard and it's ourselves that we're versus, how can we ever move forward if we don't have a purpose?
Whoa, nice. Yes, we need a purpose. Now, what was the inspiration behind that?
I actually wrote this for a speech class that I took in my freshman year in college.
Mm-hmm.
Our job was to find something that we hold dear to us, and I picked my poetry book. So the reason that I wrote this actually for that assignment, and I mean it's very short. I think it's my shortest one, and I think it's very powerful. It's definitely one of my favorite ones that I've written.
It is very powerful. When I first heard it, I was like, wow, yeah, that's amazing. Now, could you read us another poem and then tell me its inspiration?
Okay, so this other one is called Remind Me of the Skies, and this one is in my poetry book as well. Oh Allah, I ask that you remind me of the skies. Remind me of the skies when the world becomes deaf to my cries. Remind me of the skies when tears fill my eyes. Remind me of the skies when I can't seem to fit in and my flame slowly starts to die. Oh Allah, I ask that you remind me of the rain. Remind me of the rain when I can't seem to numb myself to the pain. Remind me of the rain when negativity fills my brain. Remind me of the rain when I start seeing the beauties of this world as plain. Oh Allah, I ask that you remind me of the sun. Remind me of the sun when I stop having fun. Remind me of the sun when I'd rather walk than run. Remind me of the sun when nature doesn't leave me stunned. Oh Allah, I ask that you remind me of the moon. Remind me of the moon when I struggle to pray around noon. Remind me of the moon when I give up on myself too soon. Remind me of the moon when my heart no longer lights up like a hot air balloon. Oh Allah, I ask that you remind me of the stars. Remind me of the stars when I'm no longer ambitious and I don't aim too far. Remind me of the stars when I search for my own pity and feel bad about my scars. Remind me of the stars when I lose sight of who you are. Oh Allah, I ask that you remind me the mercy you bestow upon us slips my mind.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
Hey.
Tears are going to be flowing everywhere once everyone reads that poem. All right, now what's the inspiration behind that one?
So I wrote this one at work. This is one of my, I would say more, I guess more authentic ones because it's how I was feeling at the moment, you know. So I really just wrote down how I was feeling and that's how it came out.
I love that. Oh, it's
Yeah.
so beautiful. Wow, that is a beautiful poem. Now, let's reflect. Do you have any reflections on your journey?
Yeah, so I would say, over the course of my journey, I feel like I'm still, I feel like every moment at this point is, just another chapter, another stepping stone. I think the biggest takeaway so far for me is just, taking lessons that I learned and, moving forward with them, not, taking anything for granted, not feeling bad about anything, just being able to capitalize on whatever opportunity I'm given, so I would say that's the big thing, just taking the lessons and just moving forward.
Yes, yes, yeah. There's no losses there, just lessons.
Yeah.
And then as far as your achievements, do you do you have any reflections as far as all the achievements that you have occurred over the years?
Yeah, so I like having achievements because I use them as motivation for me. And I like to gather them and they let me know that, what I'm doing is working, regardless of what the achievement is. So I don't take them for granted. I definitely value all my achievements and, I always hope to keep gathering more.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah.
Now, do you have any upcoming plans and goals, including attending Temple University?
Yeah. So my main focus right now is to advertise this book. I would say that's the main goal right now. And obviously that's really an ongoing process, something that won't really ever end. So, that's the big one. And obviously going to Temple University, to continue my collegiate career, that's the big step for me as well. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm majoring in English and I want to minor in Arabic. So
Okay.
yeah.
Good. Now, do you have any final thoughts and advice for, let's say, a young man your age or younger that's struggling, trying to figure out where he fits or trying to figure out what's his next step, and he might not be as motivated? Do you have any advice for him?
Yeah, I would say to not be afraid to try because you never know how things are going to pan out for you. We always have a thought in our head of, what we're scared of or what we don't want to happen. But, there's so much, even just in the process alone that we take for granted. I mean, I think some things should be done, you know, regardless of the end result. I mean, just the process in and of itself, the growth that you go through in the process or the character development, whatever you gain in the process, sometimes it's bigger than the result. So, I would say just not being scared to try things, because that's how you limit yourself.
Exactly. And they said that fear is made up. It's not even real. And just knowing that can kind of push you through also. Now, to learn more about how you can purchase Idris's book, but before I do that, let me thank you. Let me thank you first, and I'll talk about your book. Let me thank you for allowing me to have this interview. I just wanted the world to know who Idris Settles is. And, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been fun.
Yes, this is really the beautiful thing, mom and son poets together, and I don't see that much.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, let's do this. So let's talk about his poetry book. So to learn more about how you can purchase Idris' book, Go to Amazon or Barnes and Nobles and type in Practice Makes Poetry by Idris Settles. To learn more about my poetry book, you go to Amazon or Barnes and Nobles and type in Adrian Cox Settles B. Okay, so thank you again for joining us. Did you have any final remarks that you would like to say? Anything else before we wrap it up?
I think I covered most of the things. I mean, again, like I said, thank you for having me. I like to just, just say thank you.
Mhm.
And I'm looking forward to, moving forward in this whole process. So
Yeah. For you in this process, having a book is so exciting. Having your art, I mean, your art is so beautiful. That's why I really encourage you to go ahead and get this book. I mean, you're only 19, you have accomplished so much. I mean, your poetry itself is going to be wow, when people see it, maybe they're going to be using it for in schools to discuss literary pieces and things like that because your poems are so significant. And I'm just so proud to be your mom.
thank you.
So proud to be your mom. And so, yeah, so thanks again for coming. And I want to thank you all also for joining us. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Peace.